GingerGM.
Well, hello everyone, we're continuing our speed run and we now got to 1900, so we're facing some good players with the black pieces here, and it started d4, e6, and we're going to go for a Dutch. One of my favourite openings, which you may or may not be aware of, and at the start of the game it's often for a fight of this square. So our first setup is these three moves to try and control this square, and you can see that my opponent is fighting indirectly for this square. Maybe he wants to take here and play e4. So the standard response here is to pin this knight, because again we're fighting for this square, and by pinning this knight to the king we are effectively controlling this square. Now in this situation I should certainly take the knight to double my opponent's pawns, and again it's all about this square. So I could castle, but if you get a chance to fianchetto this bishop you should often do so, and here again I've now got a great hold of that square, so I can be pretty happy with how this has gone, and I will now castle, and I could play h6 when my opponent might take that knight, but ideally I want to be able to recapture with this knight, so I'm going to move my knight to this square, and the point is then I can keep my knight coming towards this square. But let's have a look what my opponent's trying to do. My opponent, with his last move, we've got to be aware of this, is trying to cause a little bit of aggro over on the queen side by opening the rook. So I'm going to just stop that one in its tracks and make sure he can't do that. The next thing he might be trying to do is play c5. So moving the knight here also helps me gain better control just of that square. If he tries to get rid of it, I can capture and keep control there. I'm going to connect my rooks and also keep an eye on that square, and I'm now ready to start asking his bishop what to do, because if he takes, my knight can recapture. If he ever plays c5 I can take once, and I can take with the queen. He still has nothing really going on here, so I think it's time to kick that bishop away, and now I can break the pin. Yes, my king side is a bit weakened, but you don't mind pushing pawns in front of your king if the center is controlled. And now that the pin on my knight is no longer there, again I can use this square, and I will come directly in there, making sure I control here, having some ideas against the bishop, and now thinking about what my next step will be. And what am I going to do? Well, I could now, okay, well I think he should have moved the bishop, because now I can do more damage to his pawn structure, and to my eyes that looks like a good starting point. It may even make some sense to get rid of his knight, because his knight is a pretty good piece in closed positions, but it's so tempting to double another set of pawns. I'm going to go for that one. And yet again I feel that this square is key, so yet again I'm going to move my minor pieces just to have this little battle for those squares, and I can now potentially even move my knight into that position in the center. My opponent's playing very well. This is a good move. He wants to open up ways, and had I seen this before I might not have taken the bishop, but I will continue by going forwards. And I have to admit now I'm not so keen on my position. I've realized that he can fight for control of this. Maybe, I don't know why he took there, because by taking there he's helped me defend that key square, and if he does attack that one I can back it up, and I will do so by just moving my rook. Had I still had a pawn blocking this one, this wouldn't have been possible. So he released the tension a little bit early there, and I think exchanges now make sense. But do I need to rush that? Could I improve my king first? Because at some point his queen might threaten to come in here. So I'm just actually going to move my king, just because a little bit later on that square will be better defended. Okay, so he's made an exchange. Now if I take with the pawn, I'm not really sure I like my bishop, so I'm going to get rid of the bishop, take here, and I think I'm just going to keep it quite safe by offering the exchange of queens. And let's keep pressure here. Yes, my opponent has pressure against f5, but you can see my king is maybe reasonably well placed to defend that, and I want to defend my weakness, and I need to find a target to attack. So I'm going to try to somehow defend this weakness and pressurize this one. My opponent is doing the same, so very good play from my opponent so far. He might even be wanting to play g4 at the right moment. I will get more control of g4, and if his rook slides here, I'm going to use my king to defend that one. And what is my next step? Well, my next step now is to try and take the pressure off this pawn. So I'm going to push that rook away. And he now has a problem. This is a terrible square for his rook right. And things are going very well now because there's no pressure against my pawns, but there is pressure against here. And I can now use a little tactic to win a pawn, and things are looking very good. So I just had to, he played very well in this game, and I just had to deal with those little threats. This little king move of mine, waiting to see what my opponent was going to do, was key. And my opponent didn't make many mistakes, but he's made enough to give me what should be obviously a pawn up in a rook ending. This move I don't like because it takes away the possibility of him going there. Let's move my king with ideas of going f4 and g3. And my opponent's rook is very bad in rook endings. That is key. And I can even now threaten a checkmate idea with the check and my rook coming behind. And he's fallen into that, and we've managed to win this game with a little checkmate there. So again, it may seem simple, this one, but that was a very tough game. And my opponent, after I played this move, released the tension a bit early. And this is a key thing. I guess that happens around the 1900 range. It's much better to keep the tension. Had he moved his bishop here now, rather than what he played, which was taking here, I feel like I could be in a bit of trouble even. Because if I take the knight, he might be able to take my bishop, but he doesn't need to release the tension. So that was really the one mistake that my opponent played. So let's go into another game straight away, and we'll go and stick with the Chessbrah London. The Chessbrah London is doing very well. It's very simple, up to the rating range of, let's say we get to 2000. I think I'll stick with this, so then we might change openings. He's picked a pretty solid formation, and like in my previous speed run, I'm gonna offer the opening of the position because I have two pieces developed. My opponent has played very solid pawn moves, but he hasn't developed any pieces. So I'm naturally thinking, okay, well, let's open it up because I have two pieces in the position. So I don't mind opening the position up. Another pawn move from my opponent. So I'm just going to develop another minor piece. And here I'm going to develop my last minor piece, defend that knight. And because I've got this much better development, he's very solid, but I'm thinking about going for a very aggressive setup with queenside castling, because I want to try and take advantage of his move order. But let's just see what he's trying to do. Okay, I don't want that knight coming there, so I will secure my pawn structure whilst taking away that square. And I want to move my queen so I can castle and get my rook lined up. And then I've got every piece in its ideal situation. Okay, he's hitting here. Now this does give me the chance to double his pawns. And I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to give myself the chance to ruin his pawn structure. I'm going to deal with this little threat, line my queen up against his king. If he castles kingside, he's open over there. If he castles queenside, I have this very good attacking bishop. But I haven't quite committed to going queenside castling now. But I think either side is okay. And let's go queenside. And now that I have full development, full range of the position, I have to think about how to increase my positional, my pieces any way I can get through. And I'm looking at some of his pieces that might be a bit exposed. Now my knight doesn't really have a chance of coming forwards. My bishops are good, I feel. But if I move my knight now, I'm looking for weak spots, and d6 seems like a very weak square. And I can go via here, gaining this important tempo. So this check at some moment could cause him a lot of trouble. So a nice little bit of rerouting there. I can't open up his position yet, which I really would like to do. But with the knight coming in here, which I think I'm going to play straight away, If he doesn't capture, I will win the exchange. And if he does capture, my bishop keeps his king stuck in the middle. It can always come back here. And with his king in this situation, he has to be very, very careful. If I can, at some point, open it up more, maybe I now... If you can't open up your opponent's position through pieces, you should look at using pawns. So I'm looking at using this lever here. Maybe I can bring my rook into a position to add pressure. But now with this move, he has given me a chance to play something like d5. But what happens then if he tries to kick this bishop away with queen b6? Well, this might be a good move. The other option is to simply take the knight and play this. And I quite like that because I don't want that bishop to be chased away. And if I can get rid of this piece, which I'm going to do by just simply taking it, I now have this two bishops. Now taking back would be okay, but I am a piece up, and I think my king is quite safe after this move because I can get rid of really the only piece lined up against my king here. And he can't save that rook, and again my opponent's position after 17 moves has crumbled. What did I do here? I developed my pieces to good squares. I opened his king when I got the chance, and I've taken pieces when they've been available. I haven't really taken any risks. I'm not going to expose my king. I'm going to use my opponent's pawn as something that can defend my position. Maybe my queen can safely take, as long as he can't get his rook in the game, which he can't because of this fantastic piece. I think my queen will come here and my king will go in the middle. And I'm going to do this now just because his rook can't attack me, and just because my king on a dart square is going to be super safe because he doesn't have a dart square bishop. And a king on a dart square means that then my rooks can start thinking about coming in on the open file, but my bishop reigns supreme here. And again, pretty simple moves here have got me a very good position. And yeah, I'm not worried about him taking here. There may be a check, but let's play it super safe. Put the king on a dart square so he can never bring a bishop or a queen to check it. And if I go rook here, he'll take my bishop, but I can just defend that one and use my other rook. And he's now, I guess, trying to get his bishop to a better square. This check, does it achieve much? I don't think so. So let's just get these two guys in. If I come across, my bishop is undefended, so I'm just going to make sure that one is defended, give room for the last piece to come over, and when that one comes over, all my threats are diving in are going to be much stronger. Now I could maybe have taken that pawn with the idea of coming in with the queen, but because I'm a whole rook up, I don't really see the need for that. And let's just get that last piece in now. And with this idea on the cards, he's going to have to move his queen all the way back here. I could then swap queens, but I'm actually probably not even going to do that here. If I can't see anything else except for his queen coming back, I might just try to stop this rook ever capturing that pawn, or even stop the rook from coming around this way. So I might just play f3, but my opponent resigns before that's possible. So what happened there? Well, again, I opened the position at the right time. I played very simple moves. I developed my pieces. I stopped any ideas that my opponent wanted to try and play. I took the chance to ruin his pawn structure. I defended threats, improved my position, completed my development, and now I'm in the middle game. I think about how my pieces can improve, which pieces are not great. Well, my knight can't really do anything, but then my knight finds this very clever way to enter into the position. This forces me to get this real fawn in his side, and his position already is very uncomfortable here. He has not many moves to play. So again, simple chess. We don't do anything excessive, and let's see if we can get a third game and a third Chessbrah London victory. We're doing the first 3 moves. Amazingly, my opponent has gone for the same opening. I will continue with the same principles. My opponent has put a knight here, but this blocks the bishop in. It doesn't look like a very comfortable square, and I don't want to move this pawn because, again, keeping the tension seems correct, and just developing. There's nothing wrong with getting your pieces into the game before you think of attacking. This bishop, I will just slide back, and I can now develop my last piece. But also, because his knight, okay, well, he's threatening to take this pawn. So let's develop the last piece. I've got 4 pieces developed. He might double my pawn. Why has he put his bishop there? That seems like a very weak move to my eyes, because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere, and he blocks the knight in. So now I can really think about placing pressure on him. And when this knight is not greatly placed, and I'm drawn to using my h-pawn, which doesn't just try to force that knight to a worse square, but it means I can use this pawn later on to keep pressuring him. Okay, I put my bishop here so I can respond like this. No choice there. Yes, I've doubled my pawns, but that doesn't scare me. This move, I have to come back. Again, I'm not doing anything special. And like the last game, I could use this square now, but I'm thinking here, I'm not going to castle queenside. Let's just castle kingside. Again, I don't want to do anything special until I see a big blow. And am I worried about this pawn coming forwards? Do I use my bishop first? I think I'm going to put my bishop in here, but then I just got to be careful about what happens if he attacks it. Let's first of all play this pawn forwards, because then I can support a potential bishop coming into that square. Now I'm going to come in, because I thought maybe he should play f4, and the point now is I can support my bishop, and that bishop, like the last game, is key. Okay, good move, pinning my knight. Let's use all my pieces. I see a pawn, let's attack it. That's a backwards pawn. Simply put pressure on it. And here I'm going to play a bit of a wimpish move, and I'm just going to break the pin, because the one problem in my position is the pin. So I'm just going to break the pin, swap off his one active piece here, and try to keep hold of these central squares. In actual fact, maybe he could have gone knight c3 there. That would have been a much better move. I missed that one. My position should be okay anyway there, but he should have tried that. That knight is good. Let's kick it away, kick away my opponent's good pieces. And my queen is attacked. I'm going to use my queen, attack that knight, try to force it to a worse square. And the one thing that I think gives me a nice edge here is this lovely bishop in his guts. His knights can't really get in, so I want to really tie that pawn down. And if I get my pawn here, it will stop that pawn from ever moving. But first of all, he is attacking this pawn, so let's naturally use that pawn to maybe force this exchange, but then I will take with a pawn. Look at this piece, fantastic. Okay, but he's playing well. He's causing problems, because now he has an idea of the queen coming in and taking here and some threats. Did I overextend that pawn? Maybe, because his queen can also come in here. Let's therefore start creating our own threats. I don't have time to play this idea. If his queen now comes in, I'd like to force the exchange of queens. I mean, it's not going to be that scary, because I always have g3, and that defends any checkmates. So okay, if it's not scary, let's continue. But you know, he's created chances from I would say quite a bad opening position. But if I now take here, his queen will take, and I want him to take with the rook, because he's a little bit more discombobulated, isn't he there? So let's try to get my last piece in. This bishop is good, this rook is good. So let's try to double up on this 7th rank. So I want to move this rook, move my other rook in. I'm not grabbing that pawn, because there's potentially queen takes here. Now if he goes queen h6, I have to go g3 and I defend everything. So I'll continue with my plan of doubling rooks on the 7th rank, and I'm relying on the move g3 to defend my king. Without this g3 move, I might be in trouble. Okay, well, that does nothing to stop my plan, so let's get this one in. Oh my god, I've fallen for a check. Oh, I've lost. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I didn't see it. He didn't see it. Unbelievable. This was a killer. This was an absolute killer. Unbelievable, actually. That would have checkmate in 2 moves. Okay, well, I was very lucky there. I took my eye off the ball, and now I'm going to have to come back because that was the end. My opponent moved a little bit too quickly. Okay, well, I'm relying on this one, and he still wins a rook. So I've really thrown this one away. He did. These 2 pieces caused me a lot of trouble, didn't they? And now, well, I'm losing now. Clearly, I'm going to be a rook down. Well played from my opponent. I mean, I'm going to hustle now. I'm a whole rook down. Is there any chances? My opponent really caused me trouble. I mean, I just got a little bit too carried away. I underestimated my opponent's threats. So I've got to now cause as many issues as I can. But this position is clearly lost. I've got one chance, this pawn. My only chance, so I might as well use it. I'm down on time. I don't want to lose that pawn. I've got to defend it. I'm going to now try to come in with a plan like this. Maybe I can use my A pawn. So I'm causing as many problems as I can. Is this knight going anywhere? No. So let's create this threat of coming rook b8. And I've got, amazingly, some okay chances here. Because how does he defend? He has got knight e7. This is okay, but he hasn't found it. And we've got into an ending now, which is equal. But in endings, rooks, pawns against knights are very strong. And I'm going to now just start using this one. And I think this one might be a game winner. So let's keep using this pawn. Can he swap off enough other stuff before that? I hope not. He's going to have to give up his knight for this pawn. And I think this is actually... I've been very lucky to survive here, haven't I? Very, very lucky. Let's put the bishop... That's not a very good square because he's got this one. That was a bit silly. I'm still making a hash of this, I have to say. Okay, this move is quite annoying. And can I win this one in the time that I've got left? Because this pawn, I've really played like a bit of an idiot here. It has to be said. I think it's just a draw. I think this position is just a draw. Okay. Anything I can do here? I don't think so. I've really... How did I not win this? He deserves a draw, I think, from his play, but I can't see anywhere I can win this now because my bishop... Can it get around to g1? Okay. If I can get my bishop here, I've got to try. Then is that a chance? Okay, he's going for this, but he shouldn't be playing for a win. Surely he shouldn't be playing for a win. Not in this position, surely not. I've got to get my king in. My king has got to come. And it's got to come for his pawns. If I win this, it'll be remarkable. But I've got 7 seconds. 7 seconds. Oh, what happened there? Okay, I'm going to try to take his last pawn so I secure a draw. Okay, we've got a draw. That's good. Can we win this? I'm going to queen the other pawn because it's quick. Come on. Come on. And now I'm going to use these guys. I think I'm going to do it. Oh. Well, let's have a look at that game because that game was remarkable, actually. I mean, my opponent, he has, I mean, how did I allow him to have those possibilities? That was ridiculous. Bad play from me. I mean, around here, I've got a brilliant position. But I think my first mistake is actually, and can you believe it, pushing this pawn. Because that pawn becomes a real target. If I just play g3 in this position, let's say we have the same kind of thing, I just got to watch out for g5, but I can cover that with a move like this and then continue in the same way. So my first mistake is allowing this pawn to become a potential problem, which I saw here. It's not easy to defend. I underestimated greatly my opponent's attacking ideas here, and I should start playing moves like g3 in this position, and maybe even just trying to swap off a rook or something. So my next mistakes is allowing this to happen, and he basically now has checkmate in 2 moves, and you've got to always keep an eye out for when your opponent makes a move. Don't just look at what they're threatening, but look at anything they've left weak. And I've left the back rank weak here. This would have been the first game I lose without playing a cheat, and my opponent, I have to come back. I can't see anything else. Well, he does now come and win a whole rook, but funnily enough, I have a little bit of play here. How did my opponent deal with this? Well, obviously he's winning, but we get into this ending, and I played the ending appallingly when I won the knight. So this position is key, and I should never allow this pawn to get to h3. So I should put my bishop here and then use my king to slowly come out. So for example, if I go here, if he comes this way, then he doesn't have this h4 move. I simply take it, and I can get my king hopefully into the position here. It's not so simple, shorter time. If he plays here, how do I go about winning this? I might have to give this pawn up. So it's actually not straightforward, but as soon as he gets his pawn here, well, this is now, I think, a draw, as there's nothing I can do. The only thing I could think of doing was to get my bishop here to control that square and then use my king, but that's not going to work. My opponent did the unthinkable a bit later on. He gave up his one asset, and now I can just slowly get my king around. Even here he has some drawing chances, but he allows my king to get out of the box, and as soon as my king gets out of the box, it's obviously a win. Close. That was close. Well played to my opponent from what was a bad opening for causing me trouble. If this guy got a good opening, who knows? Obviously he's got a lot of talent. Like and subscribe, people. Until next time.